Week 13, day 4, we're going to be a learner, learner, learner. We will be sequoia trees. We are not going to be bonsai trees. We are not going to allow the thorns to keep us from growing. We are going to be great learners. We're going to continue to be learners until the day we die. No such thing as, I used to talk to Zig when I worked for Zig, and I would ask him, Zig, when are you going to retire? He said, I'm going to retire as soon as I can find it in the Bible that says you ought to retire. When I can find the justification in the Bible for retiring, I'm going to do it. Well, I kind of feel that way too. I think I work more today than I did when I was coaching with the curriculum and the things like that. The last lesson this week, the learner, we're developing the quality of being a learner, is about a teacher. And teachers are so important. And I'm going to read this lesson, and it is on page 79. I don't want to insult your intelligence by reading it to you, but I also don't want to miss something by trying to tell it to you and missing something. Douglas Fevell, in his book Uncommon Character, which is a great book, relates a parable of instruction entitled Still My Favorite Teacher. The teacher, Miss Clark, is a 5th grade teacher who at the beginning of the year, when greeting her students, told them that she loved them all. As the year begins, her affirmation of loving all the student was put to a test in dealing with a young boy in her class. He was apathetic about his studies, schools, and surroundings. Thankfully for Miss Clark, he was not a discipline problem. He was just not into learning anything, as shown by his poor performance in the class. After several months of school, Miss Clark pulls Johnny's records from the office and studies them. In the 1st grade, he was eager to learn and did well. The 2nd grade file indicated Johnny was very bright but troubled over his mom's terminal illness. The record from the 3rd grade folder explained how Johnny's mom's death was very hard on him and that unless steps were taken, Johnny would suffer emotionally. The 4th grade record described Johnny as being withdrawn and performing poorly. Things in the classroom stayed mostly the same until Christmas. Traditionally, the classroom Christmas party for the students consisted of presents for the teacher. Under the Christmas tree in the corner of the classroom were all of the many gifts. Wrapped differently from the rest were Johnny's to Miss Clark. 2 presents were clumsily wrapped. Carefully, she unwrapped one and found a rhinestone bracelet that obviously had belonged to Johnny's mom. The other was a half bottle of cheap perfume. She quickly placed the bracelet on her wrist and dabbed some of the perfume behind her ears. Lingering after the party, Johnny told Miss Clark that she smelled just like his mom and the bracelet really looked nice on her. More importantly, Johnny told Miss Clark that she was his favorite teacher. During the Christmas holidays, Miss Clark was disturbed. She felt that she had let her students down. She began the new year by teaching her students not just reading, writing, and arithmetic, but providing the individual instruction so many students need. Johnny caught up with the rest of the class and graduated from the 5th grade. On the last day of school, Johnny told Miss Clark that she was his favorite teacher. Graduating from elementary school meant going to another campus. Miss Clark did not hear from Johnny for 3 years. She got a note when Johnny graduated from middle school that stated she was still his favorite teacher. Graduating from middle school meant going to high school. Miss Clark did not hear from Johnny for 4 years. She received a note telling her that she had done well in high school and was going to college and that she was still his favorite teacher. 4 years passed and Miss Clark gets another note from Johnny. He had done well in college and once again told her she was his favorite teacher. 6 years passed, Miss Clark had retired from teaching. She received a letter from Johnny. He explained that he went to medical school and met someone who was getting married. Because both of his parents had died, he wanted Miss Clark to be his family because she was still his favorite teacher. Mrs. Clark had a tremendous effect on Johnny because she took the time to teach Johnny individually with what he needed. He became aware of the potential and gifts. But Johnny had a tremendous effect on Miss Clark. Because of the gifts that that fifth grade Christmas to Miss Clark by Johnny, Miss Clark began teaching all of her students what they needed, not just the subject matter. Got anybody like Miss Clark in your life? I was in a hospital one time, and it was a difficult situation, and my daughter had come up to visit. I think she was worried about the old man, and she came up, and the nurse came in and started asking a bunch of questions that had already been asked several times before, and she had not taken the time to go down and get the records and so forth. And my daughter said, he's already answered all those questions. You know, you're just wasting a lot of time. And the nurse looked at her and said, sweetheart, he's not the only patient that I have. And my daughter looked at her and she said, he's the only dad that I have. Well, I got good treatment. But several months later, I was in rehab. And this nurse came to me to ask some questions about records and so forth. It was the same nurse. And I didn't know if she'd recognize me, but I certainly recognized her. And she asked me the questions, and then when she finished, she told me, she said, do you remember me? I said, yeah, I was kind of hoping you wouldn't remember me. And she said, what your daughter said that day changed the way I do nursing. I look at every patient now as somebody's father, mother, brother, sister, and maybe the only one they have. I quit looking at them as a group and look at them individually. See, that's the way teachers have to be. Coaches. Every individual has importance. And everybody is there to give every student one thing, and that's hope for the future. And if you give students hope for the future, they will have power in the present. And it is the students' responsibility to come to school every day. It is the student's responsibility to cooperate, not compete. Those are the only two expectations that a student has. Come to school every day. If you come to school every day and you have teachers like I had, Miss Green and Miss Fagan and those people, Mr. Warren, you will learn great things. But you have to cooperate. You cannot constantly compete. If the teacher says do 7 problems, do all 7. Don't do 5. Don't argue. Don't be a discipline problem. Don't try to get attention in negative ways. Be the one that becomes the sequoia tree. Make sure that Miss Clark thinks you're her favorite student, a learner. That's what you want to be and become. See you tomorrow.